the market may not be wrong on Bitcoin. And if I were you, or I were your viewers or listeners, I would get off zero. And if you're not willing to get off zero, I would say, well, I would do the homework. I would take 12 hours of my life, learn about Bitcoin, and at least hear the bull story behind Bitcoin. And then after you've done that, say, okay, well, I hate Bitcoin. And even though I've heard the bull story, you could do that. Don't miss it just because you're distracted. And we're very early. Morgan Stanley just did a survey of its clients. 98% of them have no Bitcoin exposure.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to be the case in 10 years. Trump Tower will be tokenized. Other assets will be tokenized. Stocks and bonds will be tokenized. Larry Fink is telling people that that's going to happen. Again, that's where the world is going.
Scaramucci starts with an honest confession. For years, he dismissed Bitcoin. He was first introduced to it in 2012, but didn't buy until 2020. That's an 8-year gap filled with skepticism. Why does this matter? Because he uses his own story to highlight a key point. It's okay to be skeptical, but it's not okay to ignore Bitcoin completely. Instead of rejecting it outright, he encourages people to do the homework. Spend time studying the technology, the network, and the economic principles behind it.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
If you don't like crypto, it's totally understandable to me. Meaning, I had 8 years where people were exposing me to Bitcoin, exposing me to crypto, and I was a total naysayer. I was totally negative about it. And it took me literally 8 years to get my arms around Bitcoin. I was introduced to it in 2012. I made my first Bitcoin investment in 2020. So if you're not into it, I don't like pushing it on people. I guess what I would say to people is they should learn about it, because it's a technology that I think we're going to be using as it relates to transactions. We're going to use the blockchain for transactions. Second thing I would say to you is that if you believe that there's all different types of property, if you accept that the Mona Lisa, let's say we took it off the wall at the Louvre and we said, okay, we're going to put it up for sale at Christie's, somebody's going to pay value for it. Now you could say to me esoterically, well, it's a walnut-based frame and it's got some acrylic paint on it and some pigmentation. It's really not worth anything. Well, there's a lot of groups of people in the world that would disagree with you. They may pay $1, $2, $3 billion for that painting, maybe more. I don't know. Bitcoin is hard money. Bitcoin is an immutable asset. There's value on that chain, and that token is part of a digital rail system that has hundreds of millions of people now on that network, a result of which there's value on the chain. And listen, it has $2.1 to $2.2 trillion worth of market cap for a reason. I laugh at the guys that say, oh, the market has it wrong and they have it right. They're making the assumption Bitcoin's going to trade to zero, but then they're not looking at the way we perceive money historically. They're not looking at things like artwork or other things that we hold valuable, even though from a philosophical perspective, they may not be worth anything. Like think about this. There's a piece of, I don't have any money on me right now because I'm home, but if I held up a $100 bill on this show, the $100 bill, according to Google, is made out of cotton, 75% cotton, 25% linen. It has a counterfeit strip in it, and it's got some paint on it, some color ink on it. That's it. Is it worth anything? Well, I mean, the short answer is no. It's not worth anything. If we were in freshman philosophy camp class, it's not worth anything. That $100 bill, piece of cloth. I mean, we call it paper money, but it's a piece of cloth, not worth anything. Then if I give it to a
The counterpoint to that, Anthony, is that piece of paper is backed up by the Treasury of the United States. So I get that.
It's not though. So it's actually not. So there's nothing backing that. You're going to make the esoteric claim that there's the U.S. Treasury backing that, but all the U.S. Treasury is saying to you, we're going to print more of that. There's no gold backing it up. It's a fiat currency that's trading without backing. Listen, Larry Fink hated Bitcoin, did the homework, now loves Bitcoin. Ray Dalio hated Bitcoin, did the homework, loves Bitcoin. Same with Druckenmiller, same with Paul Tudor Jones. I don't think I'm smarter than those people. And I hated Bitcoin, but I came around to it. You know who hated Bitcoin? Michael Saylor hated Bitcoin. He got $70 billion worth of Bitcoin now. So.
He's bought in now, yeah.
These guys are smarter than me, John. You know, I'm not as smart as those guys. And I was negative on Bitcoin. I would just say to you, the market may not be wrong on Bitcoin. And if I were you or I were your viewers or listeners, I would get off zero. And if you're not willing to get off zero, I would say, well, I would do the homework. I would take 12 hours of my life, learn about Bitcoin, and at least hear the bull story behind Bitcoin. And then after you've done that, say, okay, well, I hate Bitcoin. And even though I've heard the bull story, you could do that. Here's the thing I would say to you, don't miss it just because you're distracted. And we're very early. Morgan Stanley just did a survey of its clients. 98% of them have no Bitcoin exposure.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to be the case in 10 years. I would say to you that the Trump Tower will be tokenized. Other assets will be tokenized. Stocks and bonds will be tokenized. Larry Fink is telling people that that's going to happen. Again, that's where the world is going. If I was with you, we had horses and carriages, and then somebody came along with a horseless carriage. We may say, oh, that horseless carriage is a fad. That's never going to work. We have a horse and buggy. It works beautifully. But what ends up happening is over time, when the technology is better, we end up using the technology. If I can get to Europe in 8 hours versus taking a steamship over 8 days, well, the chances are more people are probably going to use the 8-hour trip on the airplane than the steamship. And so the blockchain is able to do these transactions very quickly, 100,000 transactions per second on something like Solana. That's faster than the Visa network at a very low cost. And so if you're telling me that we're spending $7 trillion per year in the global economy on transaction verification, if that's the case, then you're telling me we now have a technology that can take that to zero. Well, I think that will happen.
Another key point from Scaramucci is the coming wave of tokenization. Real estate like the Trump Tower could one day be represented as digital tokens. Stocks, bonds, and other traditional assets will follow. Industry leaders like Larry Fink openly state that tokenization is the future. The blockchain enables faster, cheaper, and more transparent transactions. Just as the horseless carriage replaced horse-drawn buggies, blockchain will replace today's clunky financial systems.
So if you don't accept Bitcoin as money, you don't accept Pokemons as valuable, or Mickey Mantle cards as valuable, or Mona Lisa as valuable, well, bad news, they're all valuable. And again, there's 8 billion people on the planet. You could have 5 billion people think something's not valuable, but 3 billion people think it's valuable. Guess what? It has value. So I'm making a 3-tiered argument. So just say you hate Bitcoin, you don't think it's money. Well, I'm telling you, there's only 21 million of them. It's a collectible, so therefore it has value. Second tier of the argument I'm making is that Bitcoin is money. If you read The Ascent of Money by Neil Ferguson, and you went through the historical categories of what money is, Bitcoin hits every one of those. Remember, what is money? It's a technology that we use with each other so that we don't have to barter. And so we have used wampum, we have used seashells, we have used gold or silver coins with emperor stamps on them, and now we're using dead president printed money, or Queen Elizabeth's on the British pound. I think you get my point. It is literally just a certificate or a piece of paper that we're using in exchange. It's a database. Your bank account is a database. So you have digits in your bank account. Are they worth anything? They're just electronic digits. You go onto your bank account. There's plus numbers in your bank account. You want to buy the Mercedes. You take $200,000 out of your bank account. You wire it to the Mercedes guy. His bank account goes up. Your bank account goes down. You get the Mercedes. But are those digits worth anything?
Well, it's all, again, I hear what you're saying.
But let me finish. It's important because if I believe that the digits on the Bitcoin network are worth something, The same way, if I believe the US dollar is worth something or the Mona Lisa is worth something, I'll trade for it. I'll accept Bitcoin. Listen, you got a guy, probably the smartest person I've met in the world of financial services. His name is Jamie Dimon. He runs the most successful bank in the United States, JP Morgan Chase. He said that Bitcoin, and I repeat, Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin is a decentralized pet rock. That's what he said. But you know what he's doing now? He's loaning money on it. You have IBIT shares, which are basically Bitcoin wrapped in an ETF. You can get 25% loan to value on your Bitcoin at JP Morgan. So I don't know. He's willing to lend money on a decentralized Ponzi scheme. So if you want any greater evidence that Bitcoin is worth something, the most sophisticated banker that's lived in the past 100 years, less JP Morgan himself, is Jamie Dimon. He's lending money on Bitcoin. So therefore, it's got to be worth something, John.
I listen. I'm with you on that one, Jamie Dimon. I'm still waiting for Buffett. I don't think that'll ever happen. But
Buffett's 90. Buffett's going to be 95 this week. He's not going to change his tune on Bitcoin. But Mike Morell would tell you that the blockchain, the transparency on the blockchain, allows for a replay of the transaction. The FBI, people say we're going to get paid in Bitcoin. That's fine. They find their wallet. They go and arrest the guy. Mike Morell basically said, if you're going to do it over the blockchain, you're stupid. You'd be better doing it off of the thing that we use the most for money laundering, and that's the US dollar. So to me, I don't buy that argument either. Again, these are, no offense to you, my brother, but these are 10-year-old arguments that are specious arguments today based on the available facts.
So what's Scaramucci's ultimate message? It's simple. Get off zero. Even if you don't become a full believer, allocate a small percentage of your portfolio. Study the technology. Spend a few hours understanding the bull case. At worst, you'll conclude it's not for you. At best, you'll recognize you've been ignoring one of the most important financial innovations of our time. Remember, history is full of examples where society resisted new technologies. The horseless carriage, the telephone, the internet.